Okay, now that we've got the color where we want it, let's look at getting rid of some of the blemishes and some of the unwanted lines and wrinkles in her face. And we're going to use several different tools to do that with. We're going to start out by using the healing brush tool. And this is the tool I like to start out with most of my cloning stuff. The spot healing brush tool. What the spot healing brush tool does is allows you to click on an area and then it will sample what's around it and blend in what's around it. Now, I'm going to duplicate this color layer that I have here so then I have a place to come back to. So I'm just going to right click it and then duplicate the layer and then call this one texture. So it's on top here, it's exactly the same as the color. If I totally screw this one up, I can go back to my color layer again. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go 1 to 1 and I'm going to start going around and finding the areas that I want to remove using this tool. This tool is very simple to use, the spot healing brush tool. All I need to do is get the brush the correct size, click on the area I want to heal, and it blends it in with what's around it. So I can do this for pretty much all the freckles too. I can also draw a larger area with it without making the brush bigger, or I can drag it on an area, which is really good for removing hairs. So as long as we're blending it okay, as long as it looks okay, we can continue to click around the spots that we want to remove the blemishes. This area here, for example. Now see, it copied that line down from there, so I might not want to use that for here, or if that's the case, then I want to make the brush smaller if that's what happens here. Now I could step back using the history here, or I just did Control Z or Command Z on the Mac to step back as well. So I can make the brush smaller and see if that helps. And it does, it gets rid of it there. Remember we had this up here, get rid of that. I can scroll through again, or I can use my navigator to move around her skin here. And I'm going to make the brush bigger, smaller, to get what it is that I need to fix here. Now, I'm in here really close, so it's hard to get kind of a bird's eye view, and I'm going to have to step back later and look at how it's going to look from the vantage point of seeing the whole thing at once. Now see these little hairs here? I can get rid of these too that are on her eyebrows here. I can get rid of all these by just clicking and dragging, and it'll blend it in with the skin that's around it. So we can kind of trim her eyebrows here at the same time, just being careful to blend with what's around it. So I'm going to do that for all these here. And you can see when we're zoomed in, we could really see them. When we were zoomed out, not as much. But this will allow us to blend these in here. Get rid of a little bit of that if we want to. So it's looking pretty good around her eye. And let's see the rest of her face. There's a couple here that I might want to get, a couple of spots. And we just want to get the skin as smooth as humanly possible here. Some of this stuff we can't see because we smoothed it out with the color that was probably easily visible before. And so if that's the case and you're really struggling with getting the skin smooth, it might have been better to do this first and then change the color after we got rid of the blemishes. Either way, it depends on what's working and what's not working. So there's no real formula, totally right, correct way to do something or not. Now I'm going to try to get rid of this wrinkle here by just dragging along here and see what it does. Okay, did a pretty good job. Got rid of it there. I can get rid of these lines maybe here too. Now where it may start getting a little more difficult is with the lines on her eyes. And let's see what happens if we try to get rid of this line here. So it did a pretty good job here. Before I start working on her eyes, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and see how I'm doing. So I'm going to double click the hand tool, and you can see the difference between what we started with and what we've done so far. And so far it's looking pretty good. We're making her look a lot better. We've made a lot of progress so far with just a little bit we've done. So now I'm going to try to get rid of this dark patch right here and the lines under her eyes. And again, we can try the spot healing brush, but I want you to try another tool, and one I think works better for this. So the patch tool is going to allow us to pick an area that we're going to clone from. And the way the patch tool works is I draw around the area that I want to heal, and then I drag it to a clean patch of skin. And I probably don't want to do it the area where that highlight is. And then you see it didn't really blend as well. So maybe that's not going to work for this. Let's go back, let's step back here, and let's try the spot healing brush there again. And that seemed to work better there. So it's a little bit mushy here, but it still seems to be kind of okay. Let's see what happens when we try to get rid of this. Seems to be doing fine. This line here. And I think it got a little bit mushy there. So I'm going to step back here, and I'm going to try that patch tool again. I'm just going to try it in a different area. So I'm going to drag it right below, and it might blend the skin a little better that way. Which it did. That was perfect. That worked really well. So I'm going to draw it around it as close as I can, and we'll drag it right below it. Again, it seems to work really well. I missed the spot right here. I'm using Control D or Command D to deselect, but I think you can just go ahead and click somewhere else too if you want to, and it'll deselect it. Yeah, if I just click off of it somewhere. So let's try to get this one here. The only problem is I'm going to get some of the eyelash here. Let's see what it does. Well, even though I got a little bit of the eyelash there, I got rid of the wrinkle there, I could play with it a little more. I can look at getting rid of these here, laugh lines. So it depends on how far you want to go with it. Let's try this area here that we were having problems with before, and see if we can blend this a little bit more here. Now the problem with doing that area is I got this highlight here, and that's something I'm going to probably want to try to get rid of later. So I'm going to try dragging it down to a patch that doesn't have the big old bright highlight on it. And actually that was a little better. Okay, so let's zoom out and see how we did here. Okay, so it's looking better even. I get rid of that, I got rid of that. I can get rid of this line here if I want, but I want to try to get rid of this here because this makes her chin look a little thick. So let's try getting rid of that as well. If we can try to get, if we can blend that line there, it'll help significantly. This is probably not going to be the easiest thing to do because we have this color down here with this shadow. So it didn't do too bad, but we might have to blend it a little more later. Let's zoom out and see how it looks. Yeah, so you can see the shadow here, how it blended it. But we'll try to lighten that up, and that'll give us a little bit of a challenge here to see if we can fix that. The only other things that I want to look at probably doing with the clone stamp is trying to get rid of some of these bright patches, because they're not easy to fix as we get into them later. So, and I didn't really get all these over here, which I probably could over here on these parts of her eyes here. So again, I'm just going to use the patch tool. And you see it blends all with the color, the texture, and everything that's around it. So I think that did pretty good. Smooth that out quite a bit. Maybe I could get a little here. You can see it's endless with what you can do. But what I want to try to do is get these little highlight areas here where, you know, our skin was a little bit oily, and then we got these bright patches here. So again, I'm going to try to use the healing brush, or the patch tool for that. I'm going to drag it around that area. And then I just want to try find some smooth skin that doesn't have the oily look to it. And that pretty much got rid of it. Got rid of it really well. This area here, big area. Now the problem with this is finding an area big enough that has good skin to blend in. But I think that did pretty good there. I can see a line here, so it didn't really blend that well. So I'm going to undo that and try something else. So maybe try it a little bit smaller. And we'll drag it over here this time and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, that blended much better there. Much better. Now the only other real place I think there might be a little bit here. Oops. And then this patch up here. This is a pretty bad one. So that got the skin pretty good. Let's look at the difference here. I think I got most of those bright patches. Smoothed it out, the texture. And about the only other thing that we might want to deal with, and we'll see if it comes up later, is this area right here. Well, actually I think I want to do that right now. Let's zoom in on it. Yeah, this area here is kind of yucky. You see all this area here now that we're zoomed in that we missed a lot of these bright areas here that we're going to have to fix up. So, you know, it's going to be up to you as to how much time, if you want to get it absolutely perfect. And if you're going to be doing this for somebody, for a magazine or whatever, then I'm sure you do want to get it perfect. So you're going to have to spend time getting all these little things taken care of. All these bright areas here, I want to get rid of all these highlights here from the flash. All these areas here. Okay, I'm not going to get rid of everything, and I'm going to let you guys have some time to do stuff on your own, but that's the idea. Okay, even this stuff down here, really bold highlights there. Okay, so that is using that tool. Now the other reason why we'd want to use this tool is to get rid of like hairs. So we see this hair here on her ear. Now the best tool to use probably is a spot healing brush here, and I want to get this almost the same size as the hair, same width. And then most of the time I can just drag it over the hair and it'll blend it with the hair. I missed the hair over here, so let's see what happened. But if I actually get it on the hair, it does a pretty good job. Okay, it didn't blend that really well on her ear, but I can play with that to blend it a little better. And I can move that up there. I can get rid of more or less if I want to as well. We already did look at getting rid of the on our eyebrows here. We cleaned that up. Another thing that you can do, veins on the eyes. We can get rid of those as well and make her, especially if she partied too much the night before, we can get rid of those party veins. And again, it's just a question of how much time do you want to spend with it? I think there was a little hair or something. Oh no, this is just a highlight here on her eyeball. But I mean, if we didn't like that, something like that you could try to get rid of as well. So I think that's about all we're going to do with that. This, we might be able to try blending it a little better with the healing brush tool, but I think it didn't do too bad here, but let's see what happens if we do that. So yeah, that blended it in a little more, even a little better. But this is looking good. Again, we can see from before and after getting the texture all even.